I'm Kieran Donaghy, former Kerry footballer, Sky Sports analyst and Super Games ambassador. The next closest thing you'll have to your real core group of friends is teammates. And I always say to the boys, I have enough friends, lads. I want good teammates. I want people that I can look at in 30 years and go, yeah, you did it for me and I did it for you, and let's have a pint, and wasn't them days great? Not, thanks for liking my Instagram the last day. You're a great friend of mine now. Do you know what? You've a close bunch of friends, and then I have teammates, and I'm lucky to have teammates with my club, Aston Stacks, basketball with the Tigers and the Warriors, and the Kerry teams, underdogs, Irish teams. They're all teammates in my eyes. I'd look at them very fondly, I'd have an affection. I've been there, I've been in the pits with them, and I've dug my way out, and I haven't, but we've won and lost together, and there's a great sense of warmness towards a teammate and towards my very close friends. I wasn't good at school, but loved the crack, loved messing. Would have went in every day, and it was all about the fun for me and the sport. That's what school was. The books would have found them hard. I was dyslexic, I didn't know it basically. And of course, when you're struggling so badly at that kind of thing, you look to an excuse almost of, I'm kind of a mess, or I have no interest in school, and I would have always kind of had that attitude. It would always come back to sport. I coached, when I was in fifth year, I coached the under-16 teams to get to the All-Ireland A final where we lost by 1. But I really enjoyed coaching that group. I don't know what they think of me, but they got no lunchtime. Every lunchtime was training in the hall. Teachers giving out to me that they were coming back late with sandwiches hanging out of their mouths because we'd been training for the lunch hour. John O'Keefe, the great Kerry footballer, was the PE teacher in the school, and he used to lock off half the gym for us. And that was a huge highlight for me in my school. And then obviously all the playing days. But it was always sport, it was always PE, it was always going on the bus to support the local football team, flares going off in the stand, just being rowdy and getting a day off school, going on the bus to a game. That's obviously the two things. You're judged on school academically, so I was judged on school in my own head through how I was doing in sport, and in particularly basketball. So been on the Irish team, been the main guy in the school basketball team, and coaching the younger kids underneath, which was my role in kind of 5th and 6th year. I failed maths, failed maths in Leaving Cert, repeated Leaving Cert, failed maths again. So I had failed Leaving Cert, in essence. Yeah, it was bothering me. And a good friend to me, McMahon, who's highly involved with the juvenile setup in my club, Aston Stacks, he said, I'll help you pass maths. You know, he was a maths teacher, and he said, I will figure out a way for you, and we can dump what you don't have a clue of, and we'll go through bits that you will be able to get 40%. So he went through it, and I got 48% or something. So yeah, I did that when I was 23. So I was after winning my first All-Ireland with Kerry, and I was sitting down doing the exams, and there was all these kids around me kind of going, what's your man doing? So it was a bit awkward in that kind of essence. But yeah, I did go back and get it. I felt it was important to have a Leaving Cert, and that was my mum wanted me to have it, and my grandmother wanted me to have it. So there was kind of like a bit of pressure to go back and do it. And there was obviously getting a job. I realised, listen, if you want to get a decent job, you better go do something about it. I wasn't too bad, like I love geography. I got a B in honours geography. I was into it. I was into Oxbow lakes and rivers and mountains and that kind of stuff. So I did very well in that, probably because the teacher told me that I wouldn't pass honours geography to do past geography, which probably I got the hump of, and probably the only subject I studied for the whole month before the Leaving Cert was geography. To prove people wrong would be people say we can't win something, or I can't do something, or my initial probably reaction is to go to try and do it, to try and prove them wrong. I wish all my teachers told me to do pass, and I would have had a great Leaving Cert. Yeah, maybe it is part of my makeup. I have the basketball ring in the house. I have Lola Rose trying to keep her elbow in when she's shooting a shot. She's 4.5, she can barely reach it. I'm putting it up. You know, I have it at a certain height, she's making everything. And I'm like, okay, that's too easy, you know, for her. I'm gonna make it, put it up that much. Yeah, she's 4.5. She goes to some of the Warriors games, and I look over sometimes and she's really focused on it. And I look over 5 minutes later and she's her back turned to it and she's talking to her friend, like no interest in it. So basketball is a great game, and in particularly, for girls, I think it's a fantastic game, and it's important for kids to be involved in sport. So I think it's a great avenue for her to go down and play, and I hope she does, because it teaches you a lot. It teaches you resilience. So I talk a lot to the kids in my camp about bullying, about online bullying, the effect it can have, how to be a good teammate, how to take constructive criticism from a coach, which is allowable, and positive feedback from a coach, to take them in the same manner. So I think we're all very good at, you were great today, Kieran, you did a really good job, oh thanks very much, I'm all happy. But if I say, you weren't at your best today, you didn't mark tight enough, or you were 0 from 5 on your shots, and 4 of them were bad shot selections, sometimes kids find it hard to take that. So to try and teach them to take that with the same level of calm about them, the positive and the negative. And certainly the talks around the online bullying for me is important. But I also talk to them about resilience, and that fact about that sport teaches you how to be resilient. When you lose games, and you lose big games and you're crying, it teaches you to be resilient and come back harder the next time, or to go away and work harder, and that's life. And I think if kids aren't playing sport in this modern age where everybody is great and everybody gets medals and everybody was winning, and when it gets to the real world, when they're 18 and they come out of school, or whether they go to college, or whether they apply for college and don't get it, or apply for a job and don't get it, how are they going to take that setback? And I really think sport kind of teaches you how to deal with that. So that's why I hope they play sport for that alone. I'm not hoping that, well, I do hope she makes the WNBA, but setting high standards for her. But no, I do hope she goes on and loves sport and enjoys it, and gets that teammates and camaraderie out of it, because friends, or close friends, really close knit friends that you have around you, are very important. It's not easy to lose. I've been there. I've been the grown man that cries after games, or really disappointed, and you just have to you have to allow yourself, as Lola Rose says to me the last day when she was crying over something. I said, "Will you stop crying, whinging?" And she said, "Daddy, Teacher Rose says it's important to let your tears out." So I said, "Okay, let your tears out, Lola Rose. Like, even though it's because you haven't got your Kinder Egg or whatever the case may be." I didn't get the Player of the Year and go, I'm the best player in Ireland. I knew very much where I was on the ladder. It was a lovely award to get, but I was never going to fall into the trap of thinking I was great because I got it. I stayed very down to earth. And yeah, but you're in Kerry too, you win an All-Ireland, All Good Men, yeah. You're straight away, you're counting medals in Kerry, and that's just, you're trying to get somewhere near the boys that have 8. I got halfway there. Last 4 finals. Shouldn't have lost 2 of them in my own head. And if I had 6, you still fail. You still don't have 8. You know what I mean? So it's, I really can't think of fellas that have the Kerry jersey on that think they're great. You're just not allowed. You're not allowed in the setup. Like, I can hardly get carried away if I'm playing next to Gooch, can I? And we're very much kept on our toes by our fans, and that's a good thing. People give out about it sometimes, but we're held to high standards and we're not allowed to run away with ourselves. And I think that's very important, because we're representing our county, and the kids need to look at guys that are down to earth and that are chasing. And you're always going to be chasing in Kerry, because nothing's ever good enough. She was brilliant, really, and I would say probably the reason that I did end up making it, because I don't know how well I would have reacted if my dad was around through my teenage years and my early teens and trying to break through onto the Kerry. And you know, where dads are there, oh, you should have done this, you should have done that, why didn't you do this? And that's natural, that happens in every household in Ireland. Whereas I could go about my business and my mum would never open her mouth. She just encouraged me and best of luck and packed a lunch for me and pay for the train ticket to Dublin for the Irish teams, and you know, make sure I was eating well when I was trying to get on the Kerry team, and I was living with the Americans, dropping down dinners and stuff. And you know, she was just basically just supporting and never critiquing or never judging. And I would say I react to that style better than somebody constantly wanting to talk to me about why I didn't do A, B and C in a game. Look, she's classy, like, you know, she's a classy woman, like, and she handles all of that throughout my whole career. Fellas calling me names in the stand right behind her ear. She would never bat an eyelid. She'd sit there stoic and just look on. And she would never be one to be roaring and shouting at matches. She never looked for any plaudits. She always shied off into the background, and that was a major part of my kind of teenage and adolescent years, was how she would just go about her business and kind of stay out of the way on the sporting side.